Hey guys, today's topic is the rules of the Pharisees. So if you've been reading your Bible at all, you've probably heard this term before. Jesus talked to the Pharisees a lot. The Pharisees were kind of the bad guys of the New Testament, not because they were terrible people, it's because they were religious people, but they missed the whole point behind it. So they were all about keeping all of the rules of the Old Testament, the Jewish rules, but their mindset was, well, this is how you get to heaven. You get to heaven by keeping all the rules. So let's break down those rules for you. First of all, there's something called the Mosaic Law. Now, the word Mosaic, you can see the name Moses is in there. So when we say Mosaic Law, we're talking about the law that was given through Moses. So it actually started with Moses and the 10 Commandments, but that was just the first 10 of a total of 613 total laws that the Pharisees actually had in the Mosaic Law. So that's the first part, the 10 Commandments, that's the cornerstone of the Mosaic Law, and then all of the other laws in addition to that, and the Pharisees knew all of them. Now the second thing is called the Midrash. Now this was additional teachings that came from rabbis, so this would be more sermons, more clarifying ideas and concepts and teachings to help bolster the 613 laws in the Mosaic Law. So as if those 613 weren't hard enough, now the Midrash was adding all of this other stuff that in essence, all of that stuff became part of the law code. So it kind of all rose to the surface of this is all important, you better know all of it, and you better follow all of it. So here's an example of the Midrash. Take the commandment that says you should keep the Sabbath day holy, commandment number 4. Well, they added to that 39 regulations helping you to know exactly what that meant to keep the Sabbath day holy, all the way down to like how many steps you could take on a Sabbath day. So there was the main law, that fourth commandment, and then there was all this other stuff clarifying it that really sort of rose to the level of being a law, and stuff clarifying that clarifying stuff, and pretty soon you had this massive web of rules and regulations and laws that the Pharisees all knew and tried to follow to the letter of the law. So here's the problem of the Pharisees. And again, if you read the New Testament and you see how Jesus interacts with the Pharisees, you'll see this. The problem is it was all legalism. It was all about following the letter of the law rather than really understanding the heart and intent of the law. You know, Jesus answered them in Matthew 22 when they asked, what's the most important law? And they had all these laws in mind. And Jesus said, it's just simply this: love God, love others as yourself. But they had sort of forgotten all of that. They had lost sight of all of that. They were trying to get to God through the law. They were trying to be made right with God through the law, which no one can do, rather than depending on what Jesus did for us that sets us free so that we can begin to live from the inside out. Take a look at this verse from Jesus. Speaking of the Pharisees, he said, "What sorrow awaits you, teachers of the religious law, and you Pharisees, hypocrites! For you are like whitewashed tombs, beautiful on the outside, but filled on the inside with dead people's bones and all sorts of impurity. Outwardly you look like righteous people, but inwardly your hearts are filled with hypocrisy and lawlessness." Here's the takeaway for Christians today. If you're watching this with your family, with a small group or a mentor, I want you to think, what part of that can I relate to? You know, it's so easy to take our religion, to take our faith, and to turn it into a bunch of rules. Now, Jesus never said the rules were bad or wrong. They're not bad or wrong. But the rules just show us God's heart. And the rules show us that we can't really live up to them without Jesus. So if the rules and the laws don't push us closer and closer to Jesus, then we're missing the whole point. So ask yourself for today, ask yourself, hey, am I a Pharisee? Do I have a little bit of Phariseeism in me? And if you do, root it out, because Jesus couldn't stand it.